there was a lot of good things that were happening for Gen.G. There were some mistakes from KT. But KT were able to persevere, and that's the thing that I think I didn't expect coming into this series is I thought KT could win games, but I thought if they were going to win a game, it would have been like a clean snowball start to finish where Gen.G just doesn't seem to be able to get purchased. I didn't expect them to be able to overcome everything that went wrong in this game and still win.
And partly that's because of the way way KT plays, but also partly it's the way that Gen.G plays as we get into our Champion Select powered by Omen and HyperX, because Gen.G, when they have a grasp on a game, they give you nothing. It is so rare that you're able to fight back against a team like Gen.G. So credit to KT for doing that. We'll see if they can do it again, because you have to remember some of their favorite picks were removed in that first pick map.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this Trundle because Sion's already out, so it makes me think of the Kiin Sante as an early pick, potentially. You know, when I think Trundle getting banned, I think about, you know, okay, maybe I want to play Zhao, or I think about playing tanks top. So, you know, higher priority on that for Gen.G. And so I'm really interested to see, is KT going to be concerned about that, and will they throw bans towards, you know, either the Kiin Sante or something like that Zhao?
And from a gameplay perspective, something we do want to highlight again, I want to hone in on a couple of specific champions. Rumble for Perfect, Yone for BDD, and the Peter, or Peter.
For Peter, yeah.
We really need to highlight those, because from a pure gameplay perspective, it was an expensive game for KT. There were also a couple of the champions that they also love, which are the Sion, the Taliyah, taken away from them. But for me, going in, I also need to see a Gen.G be able to do a mental reset. They talked about the weight of the expectations. They are the heavy favorite coming in here today. And losing a game like that, particularly in this long, drawn-out manner where it feels like you are in control many a time, is tough. And I'm looking at Zhao here, and yeah, there we go. I haven't finished my sentence. It has been one of the comfort picks for Canyon. Outside of the Trundle, we haven't really seen any jungler be consistently insane into it. Very well-rounded, and Canyon wasn't quite able to have the early impact in that one when it comes to impacting the lanes. Might have to see something different here.
I mean, pretty much all the kind of like S-tier AD junglers are now going to be gone, because we did see Vi Jarvan taken out early, Wukong is banned, we have the Trundle banned, and we have the Xin picked away. So we think, Kenzie, I was going to say, that more the kind of like assassins and stuff, like Qiyana, or things that are a little bit less common, and we are, in fact, actually going to get a Qiyana for Cuzz, which, you gotta love the confidence, man.
I mean, it's also an LCK Qiyana, and I saw Mal flinch a little bit when that was logged in, because as a region, they don't have the best track record with this pick.
Yeah, we really don't, and I think that is partially due to, obviously, LCK playstyle, but also just plain mastery. Even players that I have held in high regard in the past, Canyon used to be a really good Qiyana.
That's so weird to me.
Has just not looked good on it whatsoever. The other reason why I flinch is because, to me, KT look best when Cuzz gets the impact the early lanes. I think he fulfills a very similar role to junglers like Kanavi, to junglers like Owner, that are there to get their team going in the early game, set up a lot of these skirmishes. I do think Qiyana, if the early couple of fights don't go well, can really struggle in that regard.
She really does, and for Cuzz, he's bringing it out for the first time in his professional career in the first world semi-final that KT have made. It's incredible. The Ryze locked in for BDD, immediate answer of Ambessa Galio. Now, Chovy's Taliyah win rate was knocked down a peg in game one, but this Galio so often banned away from Gen.G because of how much of an impact their mid laner can have.
Also a lot of agency here for Kiin, who I think tried his best in that last game, but on sign, I think you're always going to be a little bit hamstrung. Peter gets access to his Alistar, and that Alistar-Qiyana combo does have a ton of CC available early on. But if you are looking at Gen.G, the amount of backline dive that they have this time around is much more comparable to what KT was playing with in game one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very difficult playing Qiyana into a Galio, right? Because you're really reliant on the grass blade to be, you know, have these kind of like pockets of invisibility, but you can just be taunted out of it. You can be hit by that AoE. And having Kiin with more agency in this game, I think, is big, because to me, he was the best player from Gen.G in game one. I thought he actually played really well on the side, found so many key moments where he was actually getting picks and setting up plays for the team. And a lot of focus on these defensive supports getting banned away from KT. Obviously, they're going to be playing dive, so they're banning out the Braum, they're banning out the Poppy. Two of those really important defensive supports for Duro.
Sivir and Kiin, I was going to say Cassante,
makes sense, yeah.
Taken away by Gen.G. KT here Likely looking towards their AD carry. You can pick top because top is already locked on the other side, so you know the matchup you're in, but leaving top for counter pick last is often what we see when you are on the red side. Gen.G electing to go on the blue once again. It is the Rek'Sai, so we're going to have that AD carry locked in last for KT.
So I'm looking Ziggs and I'm looking Jhin here, possibly for Gen.G. Ziggs a pick that once upon a time Ruler would not have been seen on, being the traditional AD carry guy, but he has added hits to his repertoire, and I think that the combo with both Zhao and Ambessa is really, really strong. So we need to see what they're going to commit towards. This is a lot more safety. Ruler is one of our best Ezreals. Does mean that you're going to be playing the Ezreal in what I imagine will be a Kai'Sa. I'm double checking, but that pick is still available, as it's often picked into Ezreal for the ability get on top of it in later fights.
Yeah, and Duro, prioritizing the engage. The other option is, of course, just going something like Ezreal Karma and playing more for the 2v2. But then you are really kind of lacking as far as the primary engage goes. So this feels more like the Gen.G style, to just have Duro be that primary engage, to be able to have that point and click CC to start things up. And it is, in fact, going to get locked in. And Kai'Sa makes a lot of sense. I think if you're trying to stay safe from the dive, you can play poke Varus as well and just kind of try to stay back further away, try to stay safe in that way.
The issue becomes, though, you have an Ambessa, you have a Zhao, and then you have the follow-up from a Galio on top of that. If you do ever get caught as the Varus, you are in for a very sticky situation. Could go for something like the Xayah if you want to be able to avoid that public execution, but Varus does give you good poke. It allows the engage from the Qiyana to be a little bit stronger. You've also got the chain of corruption for that extra CC layering. Yeah,
and one of the things I just really like about it is that it has the ability to follow up on your frontline diving fairly deep, right? If you have Qiyana, flashing in for an ultimate, sometimes you can hit that piercing arrow over the top, or you follow up, with the chains of corruption. You can have a very high amount of burst, because there is no real true tank over on the Gen.G side, so they can be quite susceptible to the damage that deokdam does. I'm definitely expecting it to be poke Varus. And people just kind of have these different approaches to how they want to play out, against some of these dive comps. So it'll be interesting to see how deokdam can pilot it, because definitely have to stay safe, as you're saying. If you step too far forward, you're so easy to get picked off without flash.
And after last game, KT coming out of draft, I think every KT fan looked upon that with a lot of relief. There was a ton of comfort, there was a lot of tested, known quantities that you knew your players would be good at. This time around, BDD's Ryze, no notes there, but I'm looking towards that Rek'Sai for Perfect and the Qiyana. We've seen both those picks, I think, really vary extremely heavily in their performance in this tournament. And they are very vital parts of the composition. The combination specifically is what's going to get them reliable backline access. But both these teams are basically going to bash their heads into each other. So also going to have to see how both the Ezreal and the Varus survive.
Yeah, what the power of the Bruisers can do in a game like this. And on the side of Gen.G, you talk about comfort for KT. Well, Gen.G have Chovy's Galio that is 20-3 this year, and Kiin's Ambessa that he's never lost on, 10-0 on the pick. So I'm pretty sure Gen.G will be comfortable enough, although KT fans will tell us they already got rid of the Taliyah win rate in game one. They've already upset the apple cart, so to speak. KT at this Worlds have been a constant slew of surprises as we get on into game two. Remember, if you are at home, you can log into your Riot account on lolesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. You can join in, spam those emotes, It's Gen.G looking perhaps for a little bit of an invade. Now, Perfect will see them with that tremor sense. Canyon's going to step forward. BDD and deokdam are here. It's going to be a 4v3. Peter comes across to make it a 5v3, and Gen.G wisely back away.
Yeah, not wanting to run any big risks. Want to highlight something that has been more and more prevalent this tournament, which makes sense with the popularity of lane swaps, but it's actually double TP here for both bot laners. Now, we saw it on the Lethality Varus specifically, more and more throughout this tournament, and Ruler has decided to match that. I do think as Ezreal, you get a lot easier away with it than you do as Varus.
And it's kind of something we've seen in previous metas as that evolution. When people start taking the TP, then slowly you start getting kind of sustained out of lane, where they're just poking you down, pushing you in, then TPing back and kind of lane locking you, so then people start to just do TP to match. And I agree. I mean, Ezreal is one of those champions that can definitely get away with it. That being said, hey, maybe you get punished later on for not having a cleanse or having a combat summoner. So it is definitely something that I think is really not even a debate. It's just stronger for lane. The question is, do you get punished later on?
Small optimization from Duro there, going for the W, that shield, Titan's Wrath, to actually be able to walk up into the Alistar level 1. You don't need the hook. You can just walk at him. What's he going to do? Knock you up into the air? You still come down where you're standing. So uses the shield, steps forward, gets a little bit more pressure in the lane. And because of that, I mean, because also they have an Alistar, deokdam and Peter have to step away from the level 2.
You see the early prio found there. That was something that was already a big issue for them in the last game. And then both junglers will be pathing towards the bottom half of the map. Obviously, Zhao, if there is a lot of trading, has a great early game dive. Qiyana a lot more conditional, as the struggle for Chovy, obviously, in the early, like first back at least, sometimes even into the second, but once you get enough wave clear, the Galio obviously is able to just shrug off the damage from the Ryze.
I'm always just so interested in watching a lot of these Rek'Sai lanes because it has been such a champion that is really hit or miss at Worlds, right? Some people make it look so oppressive where they have you locked under your tower, they're taking down plates, they're slowly pressuring you and just utilizing that sustain to create these big advantages. And then other people are kind of just farming even and then looking useless, right? So we have to see, can Perfect perform well on this champ? Because to me, the early game really does set the tone for what kind of a game you're going to have on Rek'Sai.
We get the knock up here onto Kiin with that unburrow. Forces Kiin a little bit lower, but Kiin, he doesn't use mana, nor does Perfect. Obviously, we can just spam through some of those shields, dash around the wave. Does lose at the early game, but with the second win, with the Duro and shield, you're always just going to be able to keep yourself topped up.
And we see Qiyana crossing over towards the top side of the map because he has prio there. Not really able to contest for a bot side. As I say that though, looks like Canyon is looking to match. And that is going to be tough. He does feel confident, I imagine, in the 1v1, but yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a time waste for him. Could be looking towards BDD though.
Gonna run towards that middle lane. BDD needs to get the hell out of here. Chovy's on the chase. BDD flashes and face plants in the wall. Gen.G claim first blood.
Yeah, BDD, I think, got a false sense of security. Because Cuzz was taking the topside scuttle, I think his read is, oh, that means Canyon is on bot scuttle, so I'm going to play so heavily towards that top side. He was not expecting the Zhao to be there, and I think that really did bite him. Gets completely surprised, doesn't react with the flash, then late flashed into the wall. It's kind of just the exact opposite of how last game started, where Chovy died, wasted his flash.
Yeah, that's now 2 for 2 on flashes that make me and Ezreal look at each other in pain. Because both of those didn't quite hit the mark. I thought actually a BDD's call was just, I am dead, and I'm going to hold on to my flash.
Yep.
Which, in hindsight, definitely feels like that would have been the play, because now it's the flip side situation where not only in terms of BDD going down, but also because now Chovy is in the one in the matchup that is expected to struggle a little bit early.
Yeah, against a champion like Galio for Chovy, BDD is really going to struggle as he gets towards these first few items, 20 and 3 across the course of 2025. You can see he's just constantly dominating, even on these picks that are a little bit tanky, still putting out a ton of damage from that mid lane.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Perfect has to be a little bit careful here because he is down a bit on XP, and Kiin can get 6, I think, on this wave. So Perfect is trying to make sure that he's thinning it out enough. You don't want to get caught on a bad trade, surprised by those level up timings. That is one of the opportunities that sometimes you have on a champion like Ambessa, and Perfect will just realize, you know what, I can't actually contest this. He's going to get 6 first, I got to back up.
It bows away on the exact minion that Kiin was going to hit that 6. Smart play there from Perfect, just backs underneath his tower. Does mean Kiin will get the first recall out of this top, but shouldn't be too much of a bother as Gen.G start up the dragon down towards this bottom side. TP coming out from deokdam as he looks to match the push that Ruler's had, but again, it's another summoner that's been burnt by KT that Gen.G haven't had to invest. Ruler was able to just walk across here. Cuzz looking for the steal.
And it's kind of a flip situation. This time it's KT trying to get access to that dragon.
Duro on that front line. The hook lands onto Peter. Cuzz gets the root down. Piercing arrow. Again onto Duro as he falls low. He has to flash away. The knock back onto Chovy. Separates the fight. Drake secured by Gen.G. Double flash of the root still onto Ruler. deokdam looking to put the arrows into the back of his enemy man. The Realm War back as Peter's getting onto that backline, but Gen.G immediately turn and burn. But Canyon is the one who is aflame. Hero's entrance will not be a good exit for Chovy as now he needs to escape the clutches of KT. They've already lost 2. Gen.G trying to get Ruler out of here as the chase down towards the bottom side. Chovy against Cuzz has to burn the flash. Finds him still. KT come out on top.
Cuzz is feeling himself, and rightly so. 3 kills early for the Qiyana. Played that fight brilliantly, spacing out so many of the abilities there from Chovy. Even using the Realm War perfectly there as Peter was able to find a great angle for a re-engage.
And the hesitation from Gen.G in that contest feels like it was very well punished by KT, because normally in these type of fights, it will be Duro and Canyon running the play. But what you can see here, even with Chovy, a lot of damage goes down onto Peter, but he obviously doesn't care, being Alistar. And then Chovy doesn't actually whip that taunt setup for any meaningful damage. I thought he was just going to go for an ultimate here, but he holds onto it and the re-engage fails.
And look at the spacing here from Cuzz, how he actually plays out these next moments as they go back in. Chovy tries to find this re-engage, and then Cuzz steps out, is able to just barely dodge this taunt here as he dashes out. Chovy tried to hit both, and they both just kind of back off on either side. He wasn't able to hit anyone, so Ruler gets chased down on one side. Cuzz is able to follow through and get the kill there to take down Chovy, gets his ult, gets his flash. BDD is looking pumped. And it's moments like these that you have to wonder, how nervous is Gen.G feeling? Because the pressure is going to be mounting. Something goes bad in game 2. Is that in the back of your mind? The expectations are so high for this team, and rightfully so, but a mistake early in game 2 when you're already down one is tough.
And on the other side, how hype are KT feeling, right? Coming into this, as we see Peter look for the engage onto Duro, we'll get the trample down. The hook's going to land as Cuzz dives in. Supreme display of talent. The Nautilus falls first, but meanwhile the Crescent Guard from Cannon keeps him alive. Peter gets the knock up and a knock back. Ruler gets the shutdown though, as 2 will fall. Gen.G bite back in the game.
Yeah, that was not the fight to go there for KT. They try to full send it, but they're sending it onto Duro with Ruler just free firing on you. And Ruler gets both of those kills and a big shutdown off of Cuzz. Plus, they're going to be able to get the grubs off the back of this as well. Ruler in prime position to be able to carry now. 1K up this early.
And it shows how quickly these games can swing. Like, we were literally in the middle of talking about how KT had a really good early game, and now the gold basically even, 2 neutral objectives to 0 in favor of Gen.G. They get all 3 grubs. They're 1 neutral away from that feat of objective slaying, and Cuzz does have the Profane Hydra complete, does have an 800 gold lead, can start to steal away some of these camps with the help of Peter. This is where Qiyana can really shine, just out-farming your enemy man. But they've been stymied. They've been suppressed a little bit. That early game hype, not quite as high as they look to see if Canyon oversteps. Kiin here as well. The wards go down, and KT back away.
Possible trap, but still a couple of jungle camps being found there for Cuzz. He's going to be happy. A little bit of extra pressure there for Perfect. But that was definitely an unforced error for KT. They could have just backed out of that play towards top side. Really wanted to play, I think, on Cuzz, having his ultimate available, but bit off a lot more than they could chew. We're still seeing, though, as you highlighted the Zale, and I want to echo it again, Gen.G generally is a team that in these early games, either they're doing something right or they're not doing anything right. They're looking for a cross map, they're trying to set up for an objective, they're trying to go for a macro play. Some of these early skirmishes, KT has just been straight up outplaying them, with the Profane Hydra now done, with Ruler having his Triforce. Those are the 2 strongest members on the Rift right now.
And Ruler on this Ezreal is not the one you wanted to have all the gold here, as he is going to be tough to take down, but is missing combat summoner. You're not going to be playing Cleanse Barrier or anything like that, so perhaps a little bit more vulnerable than he otherwise would be. But still very difficult to even just close the gap and get in on him. Plus you have all of this defensive power here from Chovy, who's going to be there to peel if you're oversending it onto Ruler.
Overall, KT, although they had a bit of a stumble, still in a good position in this game. Rune Prison, Chain of Corruption for the chase onto Chovy, who doesn't have his flash back up. Exhausted, the Justice Punch will get him to safety. The hail of arrows, not enough to bring down the Galio. BDD's still going to push in here as Chovy uses the Winds of War, misses the wave. But with only 2 minions left alive, BDD will just have to settle for a plate. TP down towards the bottom side as Duro and Ruler set up around this Drake.
Still successful play though. Chovy going to be bullied out here early. The prio is there for KT. They're again building a gold lead. This time though, Gen.G got the first Drake. They're looking to try and play for a second. Perfect, I think, going to finish his Titanic Hydra on the base. Kiin might be able to finish his first as well. Could be looking at some double TPs coming in here. Peter has taken a little bit of damage already, though.
Perfect is still proxying, so he must not have the gold just yet. He wants to kill 1 more wave, then probably look for the base. But I mean, Peter has chunked out the base just now coming in from Perfect, so there's no way you can contest. Gen.G going to be able to grab this one, no problem. And they are the ones now with 2 early dragons here. It's going to be an Ocean Soul up for grabs, which could be pretty good, honestly, with a lot of kind of the beefy boys over on the Gen.G side, I feel like.
Yeah, Ocean Soul Ambessa, that does not sound like a good time once we get deeper into the game. Yeah.
It's all about how much you can disengage her, how much you can stop her getting onto that backline, because you do have tools. You've got Headbutt Pulverize, Chain of Corruption, you've got the Unburrow coming out from Rek'Sai. If Kiin is diving in there, can you just CC him for long enough to take him out before the Ocean Soul really does its work? We're still a long way away from that, at least 10 minutes before Gen.G can claim that as their prize. 2.5 minutes as well before the Herald is coming up, so let's just have a look at where our lanes are assigned. We've got the AD carries meeting in the mid lane, the supports meeting up towards this topside river. Duro looks for the hook, Cuzz is on his way across, and Ruler won't arcane shift forward, which could have been a little bit tricky for him to extricate himself from.
Do want to highlight BDD, looking at the CS, actually a substantial amount of, now part of that is obviously due to the attention that has been paid, but part of it is also just Chovy thus far on his Galio, not really having the impact, got outplayed in the early fight. BDD with a much earlier power spike here, already sitting on 2 stacks on his Rod of Ages.
See the damage coming down from Kiin. He's got that Eclipse complete and perfect. Has to use this passive just to heal himself up. Kiin handily winning the trades in that solo top lane matchup now.
I just always feel like Ambessa is a completely different champion once you have the Eclipse. You know, it's especially for HP stackers, whether you're a tank or something like this Rek'Sai. The trades just become so horrible after Ambessa is post 6 with Eclipse. All of a sudden, you just can't really hurt her. It becomes very difficult to deal with. That being said, because you have Titanic, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of just fight the wave and just one-shot the wave over and over, keep her off the tower. But definitely Kiin, back-to-back games in a good spot here. Again, really impressed me on this Ion. I just can't sing this guy's praises enough. He really has been so incredible. Can do anything that Gen.G asks of him, regardless of the role, regardless of your weak side, strong side. He is just fantastic.
Yeah, and so long did he try to get to this position in the LCK, try to manage to get through all of the ranks. He's gone from 10th to champion across the course of his career, and last year really the year that he came to the fore in the minds of many around the world. As we saw KT looking for something up towards that top side, weren't quite able to find it. There's a Herald up in a minute's time, so Peter and BDD are just going to team up to deny some vision. There's still a lot of wards for Gen.G around the bottom side of that river.
In a sport where there's so many players that just never get on the team that actually gets it done, never get the support that they need, it's such a feel-good story of the player that just kept his form throughout all those years until there was a core around and it could actually support him. Obviously starting with that breakout year in 2023 KT.
I mean, even beyond that, it's just hard to look good on a bad team, right? Like, it's so hard to even have people pay attention to you because League is such a team game, and when other lanes are losing, the map can just fall apart very quickly. Especially on a pretty team-dependent role like top lane. So it is just so impressive to see how resilient he has been throughout his career, and I love to see players like that really getting their due, really getting their recognition after being able to kind of grind their way up from the literal bottom of the LCK.
Looking at the game state right now, we have 2 item spikes approaching for a couple of the members. Most notably, Ruler really wants to try and finish that second item, get the stack set up. In about a minute, we'll have the Drake fight set up. Minute and a half until the Drake actually spawned, and it will be a must fight for KT. They have a really strong ability, I think, to both rotate around that with the Realm Warp, as well as use the power of that Rek'Sai and Qiyana to get on the back line. Gen.G, though, not going to let them breathe. Starts up the Herald.
Herald begun, TP coming in. KT looking to cut Duro and Ruler off from an easy path up towards the river. Canyon realizes it, backs away from the Herald, which will reset its patience in a moment. Chovy TPing in. The hook's going to land, though, as they look for Peter. Flashes in, headbutt pulverize, supreme display of talent as well, but only onto Chovy. The redemption comes out as Ruler arcane shifts forward. He wants part of this fight. Canyon with the Crescent Guard, Chain of Corruption will lock him up, and it missed times as they go in. Ruler able to pick up one, another hook coming out from Duro. The depth charge on the back line into the taunt from Chovy. Gen.G rule the rift as KT can find nothing.
Gen.G showcasing their incredible team fighting here. That was just immaculate. Early force on the ult from Peter. They back off. They avoid Cuzz on the re-engage. And then Ruler finds space on the side of the fight to go aggressive. Duro finds another hook. And Gen.G were just dancing around that fight perfectly.
And what goes up must come down as the roller coaster, yet another hurdle on the journey. Peter gets engaged on early, tries to re-engage, get value out of his ultimate, but not gonna be enough. As the chase from Ruler in particular, the big point for me here, he is completely unmatched. Finds Peter, but then this hook almost bending it around the wall. The follow-up from Chovy is great. And rightly so, Perfect Bisco, guys. I am not joining this fight. I am just going to make sure we get the turret, and I think that got them defeats as well. As KT, another setback. Now, that hasn't really been permanent when it comes to the setbacks. They've been extremely resilient, and we will see if they can replicate that in this Dragon fight.
Ruler now 2,500 gold ahead of his opposite man, already on his going towards his third item, as deokdam only sits on one. Perfect looking for the flank. The Drake begun. Hex flash forward. Canyon dives onto Peter. Riptide has been summoned towards the top side as they go in for the fight. And we see KT able to secure the Drake, but Peter now needs to retreat. Perfect looks towards the top side, trying to distract Canyon. Peter falling lower. Down comes the anchor and sends him into the depths. Gen.G find another. For KT, they got the Drake, and that's really all they wanted. Riptide charges in. Perfect matches it. Should be able to kill it off. Duro with a good hook away, but BDD still on the chase. Death charge! Arcane shift! Mystic shot from Ruler, but into the supreme display of talent as KT turn it around. Canyon forced away as they chase forward onto him. Perfect finds another. KT turn around the fight.
And it's straight up disrespect from Gen.G, looking for exit kills, and KT says thank you very much as Ruler tries to replicate the last play, but instead just arcane shifts to his doom.
Perfect wants more. He's potentially going to go in here onto Kiin.
Looking for Kiin, who does still have that flash. And in the end, KT will back away from the play. Cuzz able to steal more of these camps away. The gold lead Ruler had cut by 800. He is still the most fed player in the game, but KT have shown if Gen.G overstep, they'll pounce.
It's just incredible. You know, you're going up against a team that I would say probably greater than 80% of people coming in thought were going to be the runaway favorites. We're supposed to win this event. You're falling behind. You're giving arguably the best AD carry of all time, a massive gold lead, almost an entire item ahead, and then you're saying, nah, I just win.
And they do, and this is a split call, I think, here from Gen.G, because Ruler going in that aggressive when there is no follow-up. Kiin was basing. They clearly weren't expecting KT to play this heavily towards holding on to that mid lane pressure, and that is a lot of gold being reinvested, and what goes down in KT Rollercoaster's case also must go back up again.
Exactly, just for the acceleration, and I've got to say, when you're an underdog, you can never play with fear. If a play fails, you have to just go right back at them. Play towards the strengths of your competition, and I think that's something that KT has done beautifully through these two games. They're not just saying, all right, it went bad, let's just try to scale, we'll sit back. They're going to pounce on every single opportunity that Gen.G give them.
And KT couldn't be bigger underdogs. You have to look at it. We talked about the predictions earlier on today, but
right on pace for my prediction. I don't know what you're talking about.
Already. Most of us are just wrong already. Or everyone predicting that 3-0 for Gen.G. A couple of 3-1s here or there. Ezreal, I'm sorry, I know you were memeing. I know you were joking.
Dead serious.
Dead serious. Okay.
My honest prediction, 3-0. I don't know. I just don't know why you guys didn't see it.
Hindsight is 20/20. I've got to say.
It's the Peter angle, you know?
Into the future, apparently. As KT now with a slight gold lead. It's not over yet. They are still very even in this game. For Gen.G, you still have Ruler, one of the best AD carries, if not the best AD carry in the world, on a pick that is so hard to pick off. He is still on his way to that third item, but for KT, these small moments, these small fights really start to accelerate things in their favor.
It's still, though, night and day between how Gen.G looked against Hanwha Life and how they look against KT now, right? And that is just the intangibles, the fact that Chovy is in another semi-final, something that most players dream of ever achieving, but for him, it's just been a hurdle. And right now, 2 item spikes, hit for Kiin as well. He has come through for Gen.G so many times as I think they're looking towards Otacon.
And you can't overstate it enough, right? When, for Chovy, really the only thing he hasn't done is won Worlds, right? He's won LCK a bunch of times, he's won MSI, he's dominated in every other conceivable way. You work your entire year long for these couple games that you're playing, and the amount of pressure that he must be putting on these games, on himself in these moments, is just immense, because it doesn't matter what he did the rest of the year. If you don't win at Worlds, for Chovy, that's a failure. That's the level of player he is.
He said it himself. It's not just about the win. It's about playing well alongside it. He puts so much pressure on himself to perform in moments like this, and to fall at not quite the final hurdle, but one short of it again would be such a disappointment for him as a player and for Gen.G as a lineup. 8 years since they last made it to the finals, 8 years since they last won the World Championship as Samsung Galaxy. There it was T1 they met. Here I feel we've talked a lot about how this year matches 2017 in many different ways for Gen.G. They damn well hope it does, as Kiin and Perfect meet down towards this bottom side. We have 20 seconds left on the Drake. Would be sole point for Gen.G, would be the second for KT. Artican available, but we've seen enough throws at that throughout this Worlds. And I don't think either of these teams are gonna immediately go for it unless they find the perfect window.
I mean, that's the thing. We keep seeing that, but teams still have the confidence to start it, right?
True.
They're going to go right to it. And we've seen that time and time and time again. But Dragon spawning here in 5 seconds. KT with good positioning here once again in the area. You can see Chovy is moving down. BDD is going to TP early to be with the squad, but we'll see if they just are going to start it. It looks like they will.
Double to B.
A couple of wards in the back of the pit from Gen.G as they look to gain vision around it. Perfect looking for that flank, no wards where he is. Duro going in with the hook. Drake down to 6,000. Perfect still peeking his head out as they dive in. Canyon looking for the steal here, but it's Cuzz that gets it. BDD forced to flash away. Here is Angels and Chovy in the pit. Kiin diving forward. Ruler caught out by Perfect. Canyon falling lower as Cuzz finds 2. KT winning the fight on the bottom side, but the top side is all in favor of Kiin. Ruler almost going down. Chovy still on the chase. deokdam trying to get away. Perfect and Peter trying to protect him. The flash away from deokdam. The taunt short from Chovy. Chovy falls. Only the top laners left alive, and Perfect will burrow his way away.
What a team fight from Kiin, though, and what a team fight from these two teams. It is an absolute bloodbath, but it's Cuzz that walks away, importantly, with the Dragon here, grabbing another one for his team. Kiin just solos out BDD, though, in the face of Perfect. He had an incredible fight here, really keeping it close.
And it's starting to feel like Gen.G, again, not quite the timing right there to deny X's for Cuzz. And look at these health bars here multiple times. BDD on the edges of this fight. Perfect actually finding Ruler at the beginning. And as a result, Ruler can't quite dish out the damage. And then right here, deokdam staying alive really buys the time for Perfect to then get back on top. There's no cooldowns, and you can see on the face of Cuzz, he's feeling himself on this Qiyana. Giant gold lead here for him, and he's been getting the better end of Canyon in this entire series.
Look at the damage from deokdam. 7,000 in a single fight on that Varus. For KT, every fight like that is elation. You're the underdog. It is your rebellion. You're taking down the champions elect. For Gen.G, every fight like that, excruciating. Every moment you're like, oh, we could have won it. We could have got the Drake. We would have been on sole point. And now Gen.G will call for a fight at Artican. KT will muster their men and we'll see another battle.
Yeah, Perfect's TPing already, but BDD is moving over. They are a little bit slow to join here, and Duro could just try to control this tri-brush. It looks like a difficult approach, and KT, they're going back for the red buff to try to buy time, but that's been spotted. They're too late now, it feels like.
Cuzz might look for the steal. Baron coming onto the rift, but Gen.G already secured the Artican. KT backing away. Cuzz still looking for that supreme display of talent, a game changer around terrain like this, but in the end, it will just be the red buff to KT, the Artican to Gen.G.
And that's a trade that Gen.G will more than happily take. Obviously gonna be very happy that they're able to, again, get this lead. When it comes to the pedals, Artican has been so very highly valued by teams. That's the only conclusion you can draw, because it feels like teams keep taking a very big risk to secure it. Mid lane turret still stands. KT might be looking for a punish.
Tower down to about a third. deokdam coming in from the side as well. Does have that chain of corruption, but in the end, Gen.G will back away without pushing the tempo any further. Gold basically even, 2 Drakes apiece. The Artican really the only difference between the two. The chain of corruption into the hail of arrows. Ruler needs the protection of Chovy to keep him alive, and he'll find it. KT, though, now having chunked out the enemy AD carry, can push for the tower.
Really well played there by deokdam, just playing around vision around that corner. Gets Ruler so incredibly low, they're threatening.
Gen.G have to back away. The risk of getting knocked up there. The follow-up from Peter would have been enough. Supreme display of talent, obviously down from Cuzz. But KT will take the tier 1 in mid. We'll see what Gen.G do around these resets. Sometimes when a team finds a pick like that, at least on a tower, you see them backing away and then they lose their tower in response. But KT are keeping deokdam around to defend.
And deokdam sitting here with that Serpent's Fang, actually able to negate a lot of the shielding to come through for so many members on Gen.G. For Duro, for Kiin, for Chovy. We saw the damage he was able to output there as Gen.G gonna start off this Baron. I think trying to catch KT off guard. KT does know this is happening.
BDD's in the bot side, does have the teleport and will use it immediately to come up here. Was on a reset, instead TP's in. Gen.G with that Baron down to 6k. The hook's gonna land onto Peter. He pops the Unbreakable Will to try and walk away. Cannon goes in with the Crescent Guard, but they can't find the damage onto the cow. Perfect, chipping away at them from the bottom side. Chovy's still looking for the chase. In the end, it's an Alistar ultimate, and KT disengage.
Yeah, that got pretty dicey for Gen.G. Peter, again, this was an issue in that first game. Going a little bit too far ahead of the rest of the team, loses his ulti, and he is not going to be punished for it, but we'll see if they can find anything.
And we'll see if Gen.G's happy with that, because that was, to me, felt like they wanted to get cooldowns to play for Dragon, right?
Yeah. Because
the moment that the teleports came through, they immediately backed off. Chovy still was his, so he can now be his sideline pressure point. Same for Kiin. And this is going to be soul point for whichever team picks it up. Both deokdam and Ruler have access to their flashes. BDD just now finishes his Void Staff. Third item for Cuzz as well.
The problem for Gen.G is they don't really have vision around this area at all. They've got a single control ward, now a couple in that mid lane bush. Peter caught out with a hook once again as he has to flash away. Has the honey fruit to pop himself up as Ruler lands the damage across the wall. He couldn't see him! It was blind and Ruler finds his man. KT now a man down, can't defend. The Drake secured soul point for Gen.G.
Yeah, the problem is they're just going to go to Baron, I think, here, and they're just going to force your hand. Peter getting caught back-to-back fights. This time he doesn't have the ulti. And BDD and Perfect were pretty late to the fight, so Gen.G just walk through mid. They get the Dragon, they go to soul point, they take tier 1, and now they're going to put pressure here onto the Baron. And Peter's not up for 10.
Cuzz is going to look for the steal. Ruler wisely standing on this side of the wall, now dashes in with that arcane shift. Perfect clears out a bit of vision. Cuzz hasn't been seen here. Gen.G, the Baron down to 6.5k. Canyon and Ruler still on it. Cuzz still looking for the steal. Perfect and BDD down towards the bottom side, distracting the rest of Gen.G. Cuzz can jump in. The Winds of War from Chovy. Duro knocked up. Redemption out. Canyon almost falling as Cuzz dives into the pit. There's no jungler there. Canyon goes in, and he manages to land the smite. KT now on the back foot. Public execution from Kiin, not quite connecting, and KT turn and burn. Peter's here for a little bit more. The hero's entrance won't be quick enough to save his support. Perfect diving onto that back line. Chovy falling lower. Kiin forced away towards the top side. Chovy with a stopwatch. Deokdam can't land. The piercing arrow through that. Flash away. The Realm Warp gets KT out, but Gen.G secure the Baron.
And Gen.G, they walk away with the objective. But that felt anything or nothing like the Gen.G we're used to. KT, a little bit of an overstep there towards the end. Again, looking for that blade to equalize it. As the Rebel Baron power play will be in favor of Gen.G, but that was close.
I mean, let's be honest, it came down to a complete burger flip. Canyon got chunked down very low here. It was deokdam again, beautiful all over the wall, gets him low, and then Cuzz is on the Baron, but Canyon flashes back in, able to finish it off. That was so close. If KT walking away with that Baron, it is devastating for Gen.G. And then again, this re-engage this time from Peter was beautiful. Chovy comes through with the ulti, but deokdam and BDD the whole time are just free-firing, getting so much work done in these fights.
And deokdam just unchecked in any of these fights. As you can see, the KT coaches still not used, despite everything on being on the roller coaster. It never gets old. Ruler doing an incredible amount of damage in that fight, and now Gen.G, we've seen him in his position. Last time it was Canyon going in too deep. They get a redo this time around.
BDD's pushing in a side lane. KT have already given up the ghost on this inhibitor and, well, at least the tower. Gen.G can push for more. Chovy's pushing in mid for that tier 2. The inhibitor will go down on the bottom side as KT look to defend their mid tower. BDD does have the TP. Chovy's a little bit isolated here. Ruler arcane shifts across to make sure his Galio can walk to safety. Gen.G now with this Baron power play, 4k out of it.
Yeah, creating a pretty large advantage, but they are not out of it just yet. GA completed, Zhonya's completed, second GA now coming through. Canyon and Kiin both have theirs done, but we can't count KT out. They have shown us in this series their resilience, how much they are just fighting and scrapping for everything. Gen.G absolutely in control. But really, it's eyes on this next dragon. 145. If KT can get that dragon, the game will absolutely continue. But you have to think with the lead that Gen.G already have, if they claim soul, it's pretty much theirs.
Look at how close that is to game 1, man. Like, this is exactly the same time it started going up for Gen.G. And that fall at the end of the climb of the coaster for KT is exactly what they wanted. True Shot Barrage takes half of deokdam's HP. Almost a K off his total.
Yeah, that's an unhappy duck. That was not great. We'll see if Gen.G can turn it into anything more, though. Giant Wave Crash here will get them at least a good amount of damage, but it does look like KT have been able to hold off on most of this. Obviously, the big issue is that upcoming possibility for a Soul mid lane turret also will fall as the rest of KT just looking to base and setting up for this upcoming fight.
And you always have to get concerned when it's going to come down to one of these objective fights about the vision, right? You look at Gen.G, how they're playing in this space, taking that over, sweeping out wards. Yeah, the Baron's gone, but you know that KT had been locked up in their base for so long that they haven't been able to get out on the map and reclaim vision. And Peter has been getting picked a number of times, and it could be a repeat.
Flash hook, immediately they look for Cuzz, they'll take out the jungler. Ruler finds the kill, and now Peter tries to flash away, tries to get to safety. KT will shepherd him back into the base, but Gen.G don't even need to turn towards that Drake yet. They can push for the tier 2 on the top side, they can push for the inhib tower on mid.
And Gen.G not wanting to repeat their mistakes of game number 1 when Canyon went in way too deep this time, waiting for them to approach. That should just be the Soul, right? That should just be the Ocean Soul going over to Gen.G, making the side laning Ambessa even more impressive than it already is.
I mean, it's the exact same spot that Kiin set up that pick last game, like you're saying, you know, but then it was Canyon going too far. It was the fight getting turned around. This time, they basically get a redo, and they do it perfectly. deokdam jumped very low, and now you have to think, I mean, lethality Varus against Ocean Soul, it is so hard to really have much value. You are now looking really for 100 to 0 type plays, right? You have got to find that perfect engage, burst someone down before they have a chance to get value from that Ocean Soul, or you just don't have much of a chance.
And you already highlighted as though I'm looking at 1 GA, 2 GA, Stopwatch, Mercurial Scimitar, and then I guess Nautilus, you know, that could work.
Yeah, you could kill him.
Redemption Locket.
Yeah,
Redemption Locket's pretty hard to get through.
It doesn't even have flash right now.
I mean, look, he's a guy from the ocean with an Ocean Soul. I think that gives him like double power out of it or something,
bonus.
You know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's going to be really difficult for KT to find a way back into this game, but we said that in game 1.
And I will say, if you can hang on for these next 5 minutes here, you know, we're assuming that Gen.G should have prior over the Baron. Elder is the great equalizer.
Elder flip.
Exactly, and sometimes in a game like this, your best chance can just be, hey, just delay, wave clear, try to hang on. That's not easy to do, but if you can, and you can flip an Elder, win that out, well, all of a sudden, Ocean Soul doesn't really mean nearly as much, but Gen.G, again, just masterful in how they are controlling vision. They're just moving in, clearing out all these wards. They're making the approach so difficult for KT.
And that's kind of a flex from deokdam, right? Like being up.
Oh, Peter's going. Immediately they dive into Chovy. They have the Chain of Corruption coming out as well. It's going to land the Crescent Guard out as well from Canyon. Chovy falling lower. Perfect's on the flank. Lands a double knockup. Chovy needs to get out, and he will. A public execution slays the cow. Roast beef for Kiin as he finds two. deokdam will follow. Canyon dives back in. Flashes away. Still has the Angel to bring him back to life. And now Kiin can advance, and Cuzz can do nothing but flash and a try to get himself out. Kiin will chase for days, though. Cuzz forced down towards this blue side jungle. KT lose the fight. Gen.G, do you stick or do you twist? It looks like Baron is their target.
Yeah, Cuzz still going to stay around, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to get in the area. He's hoping he can find a miracle to get into that pit. I mean, he has the sweeper. He knows he's not spotted, but he is now.
Ruler jumps immediately onto him. He knows his job here. They don't need the damage on the Baron, just force Cuzz away. Can't quite hit the Mystic shot. Perfect hit, the TP in from BDD, another TP to follow it. As KT think perhaps we can take the fight after the big purple worm. Peter's here to join the fray, but Baron already for Gen.G. KT now back away. The Realm Warp used, True Shot Barrage on Cuzz. Almost takes him out. And now Gen.G with the Baron can push in another TP from KT. They try to find reinforcements to push this wave away.
And Gen.G, at first it looked dire. I like that from Peter. You have to go for these flippy plays, right? You're looking to lose the game. You need to go for the Hail Mary. And 99 times out of 100, that cow does not jump over the wall, but the teleporting cow this time finds his mark. But there are all these luxury items, right? The fact that Chovy stays alive for so long, and the fact that Canyon just gets to play with reckless abandon.
And I mean, look at how Kiin is playing, right? You know, yes, the public execution does not hit onto deokdam, but it doesn't matter. He hits Peter, and he just taxis him over there. deokdam flashes out, but Kiin is fair to follow, instantly knocks him down as well. Kiin is just untouched. I mean, it's not like you can start a fight out going for the Ambessa. You have to deal with some of these other members, but that just gives Kiin all the freedom in the world to just crush through these fights. He's going to have a beeline straight towards deokdam, and deokdam, it's never a 1v1 you can win in a million years.
10-0 on the pick. This Ambessa has been Kiin's talisman throughout the year. Looking to make it 11-0 here in the semi-final to put Gen.G on the board in this series. They've had control of game 1. Here they have more control over game 2 with the Ocean Salt. Still 2 minutes before the Elder and a minute and a half before this Baron expires. The bot lane inhib has respawned for KT.
Last time it was a hero play from BDD. The Q-free follow-up by the rest of his team that got KT out of what felt like at that point a position that generally Gen.G wouldn't lose from, as they are unrelenting, pushing on.
Ooh, Chain of Corruption comes out. Ruler with the Mercurial is going to cleanse away that slow. It was here that BDD managed to do it, but he doesn't have the same impetus to engage, doesn't have the same tools in his arsenal to get there. Inhib on the top side, taken by Gen.G. Now KT will put all 5 players to defending this mid lane wave that Chovy is going to begin to bring in. Gen.G though can still use the top side, knock up onto Kiin, he dashes away. The route onto Duro with the Rune Prison, perfect, falling lower. Forced away by Ruler. Will be able to heal up in that passive. True Shot Rush dodged by Cuzz, but not by Peter. A public execution onto the backline, the knockback onto Kiin immediately. The redemption coming out as well. Crescent Guard BDD trying to get onto Duro, will find it. The taunt onto Cuzz, Kiin dashing in, knocked back under the tower, but Ruler untouched. Canyon untouched. Chovy untouched, and Gen.G marching down mid for the win.
And you know Ruler is calling for that. Pentine comes right now. Already picked up his double. KT though, they're gonna try and hold on. TP's gonna come in. Baron buff still for another 10 seconds.
Reset coming out from Chovy. He's finished a neat death cap. The Rabadons for that extra bit of damage. The Nexus Tower is falling. Ruler and Chovy take the first. Kiin trying to get this wave in for the second. Perfect. deokdam and Peter needs to try and defend, but Peter's already back in the base, just healing up on that fountain. The Nexus Tower falling lower. Ruler with a True Shot Barrage can still arcane shift away from the oncoming Rek'Sai. The Nexus Tower will be taken. Kiin behind them. KT trying to defend, but they just don't have the wallets. Gen.G will answer the fight and go 1-1 in the series.
Gen.G battling back here. KT kept the pressure on.